29 good men on board. 26,000 tons of taconite pellets in her belly. 29 good men on board. The destination was Cleveland, Ohio. They were set to make one more run, drop off the load, and head back up to Toledo to spend the winter with their families. You know, when that ship was launched from River Rouge, Michigan back in 1958, she was the largest ore carrier ever put on the Great Lakes. Queen of the Great Lakes ore carriers she was. She held the record for the most runs made in a single season. She held the record for the most tonnage of ore ever pulled through the Soo Locks. Named after an insurance fellow from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, proudly emblazoned across her bow and across her stern was the name Edmund Fitzgerald. Now, the evening of the morning of November 10th, 1975 was a cold, gray, black dawn. Men steered by beacons and by radar. And the wind swung out of the south and went to the west. It spoke to the Fitzgerald and said, "How do you like me?" Well, the Fitzgerald answered back. She said, "Be off with you, wind. We're the Fitzgerald, you don't frighten us." And the wind answered back, said, "Nah, you're the Fitzgerald, all right, but I am the wind of November." By 2:15 in the afternoon, some of the killer waters started to loose up the hatch covers on the deck. Killer waters were seeping in below. The wind swung from the west up to the north and the south, bringing with it hurricane gale force winds and waves up to 20, 30, 40, 50 feet. Kinds of waves the men of Fitzgerald had never seen before. McSorley, the captain, wired into the Arthur M. Anderson, who was taking the same beat across Superior. Said, "Hey, could you keep an eye out for us? We've lost both radars. We've got a 15-degree list." The Anderson said, "Sure, but do us a favor. Pull out. You're awful close to Caribou Island." Well, you see, they knew where Caribou Island was. You see, that was on the charts. But it took what happened that night to put an uncharted shoal on the charts of Lake Superior. See, as the Fitzgerald sunk with one of the waves, she scratched her belly on a shoal below. Those killer waters were coming in from the bottom now. McSorley knew there was a problem, you see, because the recovery time out of the back of each wave was a fraction of a second longer. He had a choice to make. He could bring her about and try to beat her at Caribou, or make a dead wrecking run for Whitefish Bay. They went for Whitefish. They wired ahead where the William Clay Ford was at anchor. Said, "Hey, could you guide us in?" The Ford said, "We will, but be careful, the point light's out." Now, there are 3 killer waves luring on the Great Lakes. The mariners that run it know that they're always out there.
This is awesome. Yeah.
And soon those waves catched up and the Arthur M. Anderson radioed into the Fitzgerald. He said, "How is your problem?" And that's when the last radio transmission came from the bow of the Edmund Fitzgerald. It simply said, "We are holding our own." And one of those waves grabbed the Fitzgerald by the stern and pulled her back and said, "This one's mine, let me have her." The second sister grabbed her from the bow and pulled her back and said, "No, you have the last one. Give this one to me." And as the Fitzgerald was tossed between the 2 waves, the third sister came across the bow and across the stern with thousands of gallons of water, driving the Fitzgerald into a nosedive where her bow buried in the muck, her midships smashed like an accordion. At 7:30 p.m. on November 10th, 1975, 29 good men lost their lives in the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Now the legend lives on from the Chippewa now of a big lake they call Michigan. Superior, they said, never gives up her dead when the skies in November turn gloomy. You see, with tonnage of ore, 26,000 tons more, the Edmund Fitzgerald weighed empty.